Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Getting Started with Salesforce CRM, Made Easy. Before we begin today's event, I'd like you to review our safe harbor statement. As you may know, Salesforce.com is a publicly traded company, and therefore we do need to share the safe harbor statement with you to let you know that any forward-looking statements are just that, forward-looking statements. If you have further questions regarding the safe harbor statement, you can find it on our website under the Investor Relations section. So with that, I would like to introduce Daryl Sprider.
Sorry about that, everyone. My name is Daryl Sprider. I'm a Customer Success Manager here at Salesforce.com, and I'm going to show you how to use Salesforce CRM to grow your business. To set the stage, we've all used Excel, and we've all tried to manage our business with Excel. And we know what it's like to share that data across the team, and especially with our managers, only to see them make changes and then try to control it all in one place. It gets a little unruly and becomes very messy. Today I'm going to show you how to manage your sales business using Salesforce CRM with real-time reports and dashboards. Before we get started, I want to make sure that we're all speaking the same language. I have a line down the center of the screen here to separate two very important details. On the left, we have leads. And leads are like those business cards that you get at events. They're people that you don't know. You may be doing business with them, but at this point, no relationship exists. They're just a name on a card. On the right side, we have accounts, contacts, and opportunities. Contacts are the people that you do know. Perhaps you've done business with them, or you already have an existing relationship. Accounts are the companies that you work with, your customers, your partners, and your vendors. Opportunities are the deals that you're working on. Maybe they're the deals that you have already closed, or you're closing this year. And throughout this presentation, I'm going to make it clear when leads come in and when we move over to the accounts and the contact side. So let's take a look at what this actually looks like in the application. Here I am logged in as Daryl Sprider, and the first thing that you may notice is that my screen looks different than what you have today. I've got a lot of white space and nice blue coloring on the top. For those of you that have not been around for more than a few months or have been around for more than a few months, you may have what we call our old look and feel. In the Spring 10 release, we came out with what we call this new skin. And if you don't have a screen that looks like mine, I highly recommend that you activate this. If you are an administrator, you can follow the steps I'm going to show. If you're not an administrator, please write down the following. Click on Setup, go to Customize, scroll down toward the bottom, click on User Interface, and then check mark Enable New User Interface Theme. And by doing that, all of your users will have access to our new look and feel. Back on the Home tab, I want to orient you to what we're looking at in Salesforce. One of the first things that you may notice is what I have at the top of my page called Chatter. Chatter is a new product that's coming out in our summer release this coming June. And it enables you to have enterprise-wide collaboration with all of your team and all of your employees. You can enable Chatter on different tabs and different objects and allow you to share information in real time about things that are going on. Here I've got it on my home page, and also I can choose to enable it on any object, and I'm going to show you an opportunity right now. And you can see I've also got Chatter on my opportunity. And I can tell the people in my company that I work with that we have a $50K deal in the pipe right now. So this is a brand new way of sharing information. I highly recommend that you take advantage of this new feature and contact your account executive. To further orient you to what we're seeing here, we have some tabs across the top. These tabs are also referred to as objects in Salesforce. We have the home page, the leads, contacts, accounts, opportunities, reports, and dashboards. Back on the home page, I'm going to quickly orient you to each of the tabs that we have. I'm going to hide my Chatter feed. At first glance, I see whenever I log in some high-level information that's very important to me, and I can see them in dashboards, and I can customize these and choose which dashboard appears on my home tab. And all of you can do the same. I've also got a list of tasks. These are things that are coming up and will be due, and I'll be notified either by a pop-up window when I log in or by email that I have a task due. I have a calendar of events where I can see which events I've been scheduled for, and I can also scroll through and schedule new events, and this can be synced with my Outlook calendar. On the left-hand side of the page, we have what we call our sidebar. I can search for keywords across any object in Salesforce. I have a Quick Create button where I can quickly create new tasks or leads, contacts, and so on. I also have a list of recent items so that those objects that I've been working on most recently, I can quickly go back to without having to search through the database for them. In the leads area, I've got a list of all the recent leads that I've looked at. I've got some reports that are already made and available for me to use. I've got a summary that I can look through summary data for a time period, and I can sort by the type of leads that I want to see. And I also have some tools down below. You'll see a lot of these similar components on each of the tabs. My recent contacts, some great reports that'll get me started, some tools. I'm going to show you in just a few minutes how to use the import tool. On the accounts page, I've got the recent accounts I've looked at, another set of reports that are specific to accounts, and a lot more tools that I can use to manage the business that I'm working with. Opportunities, all of my recent opportunities. I can pull up some summary reports, and again, I have some great other standard reports available as well. The reports dashboard, the reports tab, allows me to build reports just like you would in a spreadsheet, and you can create the filters and the criteria that you need to get the data that you want. And instead of looking at those large and sometimes messy spreadsheets, you can create dashboards which will provide a graphical presentation of the data within that report. So now that I've oriented you to Salesforce, I'd like to introduce you to Phil, the sales guy. Phil Smith works for AW Computing, and he's purchased Salesforce because he wants to get a complete view of the interactions that he has with his leads, the people he doesn't know, and the people he does know, his contacts and accounts. He also wants to see what kind of history he has with his opportunities that he's working on. He wants to be able to track all of his sales opportunities to make sure that he's on target to hit his monthly quota. He wants to have a consistent sales process so that every deal he enters, he can predict what's going to happen each step of the way. He wants to spend less time doing the busy work so that he has more time selling, because when he has more time selling, he's going to close more deals. I'm going to show you in Salesforce how Phil does this by following 6 key steps to getting started. The first step is import your data, and we want to import all of your existing data so that it's all in one place inside Salesforce CRM. Once the data is in place, you can start using it every day, and we'll take a look at how you can manage your leads and develop the relationships with the people you don't know. We're going to show you how to convert those leads into the people that you are going to be doing business with as contacts and accounts. And then the deals that you start to work on, we're going to manage those and develop the opportunities. And throughout all 3 of these steps, I'm going to show you how to keep track of all of the history by managing your activities. And then finally, to make sure that you're on track, we're going to use some reports and dashboards. So with that, let's take a look at the first step, import your data. The first thing I'm going to do is show you what a typical contact list might look like that you've been working on before Salesforce CRM. Here I have a spreadsheet. I've got a lot of columns that are crowded together, and this is a very short one. For those of you that have been in the business for a while, you've probably got a lot longer list than I have. The first thing that I want to mention is that we have some columns and some rows. A column in a spreadsheet is equal to a field in Salesforce, and I'll show you exactly what I mean here. In my spreadsheet, I have a company name, a first name, last name, title, email, phone, and so on. If I look in my application and I go to a contact record, I can see on this record I have a name, an account name, a title, a phone, an email, and again, that was the same thing on my spreadsheet. So a column in a spreadsheet maps to a field in Salesforce. Secondly, there's a few things that stand out on my list that I want to make sure that you're all aware of. I'm highlighting some rows, and the first thing that you want to do, and what you should always do before importing data into Salesforce, is to clean it or scrub the data and make sure garbage in equals garbage out. We've all heard that, and when you put a lot of bad data into Salesforce, it's going to impact your ability to make good business decisions down the road. So the first thing I want to take a look at is my last record. I have something called letitsnow.com. Maybe not too questionable, but then I look at the first name and the last name, and I've got Frosty the Snowman, and of course this is already sounding like a dummy record, and I don't want that in Salesforce, so let's get rid of that one. I also notice right away that I have a company that I've been working with, Kellogg, but I happen to have 2 Megans in the application in my list, which I don't want to have a duplicate in Salesforce, so I'm going to clean up that one. I also noticed that I've got 2 contacts at Whirlpool, and I have worked with both Kevin and Casey, and I'm going to show you what the application will do when you have more than one contact at a company. So just remember Kevin and Casey over at Whirlpool. My list looks good. Let's save it. And now we're going to go into the application, and I can start on my Contacts tab using Import My Accounts and Business Contacts. If you'll notice, it's the same link that appears on the Accounts page as well, Import My Accounts and Business Contacts. So they both do the same thing. I'll click on it. I'm immediately taken to a setup screen, and here I've got some great setup information and some getting started tips, as well as some great links that take me directly to help and training to get me more educated on what the import tools can do. I'm going to start with step number 4, start the import wizard. I'm immediately prompted with a question, where is my data coming from? You can import any kind of data that you have, whether it's from Goldmine, ACT, Microsoft Outlook, or even another spreadsheet. And since I'm using a spreadsheet, I'll choose Other Data Source and click Next. I've got some great instructional text, so if you don't remember what we do today, here's the information to remind you. I'll start by browsing for my file, and I'm going to choose my account and contact list. Click on Next. I've now got 3 steps that it's going to take me through to map the fields and the columns in my spreadsheet to the fields in Salesforce. Right now I'm on contact information, and you can see here in my spreadsheet I have first name, which is going to map to the first name in Salesforce, last name to last name, title to title, email to email, and so on. I'm going to click Next. Now I'm on contact address info. The way that I manage my spreadsheet, I only keep track of the company's address information and not the contacts. So in this case, I'm going to leave this screen blank, but I notice that I've got a billing zip code listed for my contact address, and I don't want that there because I want to include it on my business record. So I click None Selected, choose Next. Now I'm on account information. I've got company name, which equals an account in Salesforce. I've got a website that will equal our website, and I've got number of employees to number of employees. So click Next. It all looks good. Now I'm on account address information. Here's the information that was on my spreadsheet. I have an address, a city, a state, but I've got no postal code or zip code selected, and I want to make sure that I add that. So I drop my list down and check billing zip code. Everything else looks like it's in order. Those of you on the phone may have a lot more information that you track for your accounts and contacts, and it will handle this, and you can create those fields in Salesforce to match what you keep track of today. Click on Next. It's telling me that I'm ready to import. If I choose Import, it'll tell me now how many records it's brought in, and I click on Finish. Now, I had a very short list, so it's going to be up in Salesforce in just a few moments. For those of you with longer lists, you'll get an email reminder letting you know when the data is ready, but it shouldn't take too long. We want to take a look. I'm going to click now on my Contacts tab, and I can view the leads that I've gotten this week. And now I've got the people that I've just brought in, and we can see here Casey and Kevin from Whirlpool. And just to give you a sense of what happened, because we had 2 people at the same company, I'll click on Whirlpool, the account name. I'm now looking at the Whirlpool account record. If I scroll down below, I've got both of my contacts here. So Salesforce knew that both of these people were at the same company and brought them in appropriately. A couple of other things that I want to point out on the Contacts tab is that I can create list views to filter the data the way that I want. There's already some that are standard that my administrator created, and these are controlled by you as well. If I wanted to choose all of my contacts, I could do that. If I wanted to see which of my contacts are in the state of California, I could also create a filter and choose billing state equals California. and I could get all of my contacts that way as well. I'm going to click Cancel now. So that was the first step. Bring in your existing data. The companies and the contacts, the people that you know, you want to have them in Salesforce, and everyone should be managing all of their data in the same place. You can also do the same thing for leads. People often have lead lists from trade shows or events that they've attended, and marketers will oftentimes purchase lists. And when it's time to import your leads, you can follow a similar step by clicking on the Import Leads Wizard tool, and it'll walk you through a very similar process. I'm not going to show you that today, and instead, we're going to go with a day in the life of Phil, our sales guy. So like all salespeople, Phil hits the road on Monday morning, and he is attending a conference. And at that conference, he walks through and he meets a lot of people. He exchanges a lot of business cards, but one person really stood out, and her name was Jill Johnson. Jill's been in the market looking for some new computers, and this is exactly up Phil's alley. He sells computers for a living for AW Computing, and he knows he can get the equipment that she needs. So they exchange business cards, and when Phil gets back to his hotel that night, he wants to make sure the first thing he does is capture Jill as a lead in Salesforce so he can start managing that relationship. So as I'm logged in as Phil, there are two ways that I can capture a new lead. One is on the Leads tab, simply by clicking the New button, or from any tab that you're on, there is the Create New quick bar. I can select Create New and click on Lead. I'm now on a lead record, and here I can type the information that I have on Jill Johnson. She told me that she was at Skyline.com. She was the VP of IT, and I got her number, of course, as well, because I can't do sales without her phone number. And then a couple of fields that I want to point out on the right side of the screen. First is lead status. Lead status relates to your lead qualification process. And you want to make sure that you're qualifying your leads so that sales gets the ones that are really hot. I have 5 steps here because that's the way I do my business, and these are customized by my administrator. So we sat down and worked out what the life of a lead looks like, and he created those fields for me. I encourage you to take that time and build a process that works for how you manage leads. I'm going to say I'm working on this lead because we've had a good conversation, and I know I have a call with her on Friday. The second one is lead source. And this is very important to understand where the best leads come from. And when we close opportunities, we can track it back to the places that got us those good leads. So I'm going to select Trade Show and click Save. Since I'm on the road all week, and I know Jill is at this conference as well, I want to create a task that reminds me to check with Jill at the end of the week on her interest in our computers. So I'm going to scroll down to Open Activities and click on Create New Task. The task is going to be assigned to myself. It's related to Jill Johnson, my new lead, and the subject is to call Jill about the laptops she wants. And the next thing I'm going to do is give myself a due date of tomorrow when I'm back in the office. I can now click Save. On Jill's record, I now have down below an open task called Call Jill about laptops. And again, this will send an email to me tomorrow morning, and it will also pop up on my home page when I log into the application. So either way, I'll be reminded automatically to do this task. So let's fast forward in time, and we'll pretend it's now Friday morning. I'm back in the office in San Francisco, and it's now time to give Jill a call. I've got her information right here, and I noticed that I'm also missing a couple of fields, and that is email and address. So I want to make sure that I capture that information from her. But first thing I do is go down to lead record, or to the task record, and I'm going to choose to close this task because I'm going to give her a call. I have a custom button that was created by my administrator called Mark Complete. This will do the same thing as editing the record and updating the status to completed. Either way, I'm going to complete this record because I'm making that phone call right now. So I have a conversation with Jill, and she said that she's been very excited since she met me the other day and went back to her office and found out that she does in fact have budget, it's approved, and she's looking for these laptops by the end of next month. So this is great news. I didn't have to work very hard on this particular deal, but I'm going to show you exactly what I'm going to do to update my opportunity with Jill. If I go back on Jill's record, I'm now going to update my lead status to qualified, because what I've found out now is that she's got a budget, it's been approved, and she's got a specific time frame. And to me, that's a qualified lead. I also want to make sure that I capture her email address, which I got from her on the phone call. I've got her email address in there. Click Save. And now the next step is to start managing this relationship in a much different way. I want to convert this lead into a contact, an account, and an opportunity, which starts to allow me to manage a new business relationship. So I'm going to click on Convert. And I'm now presented with a few important fields. The first is the account name. Now, Jill comes from Skyline.com, but I've got a drop-down list here saying, do I want to create a new Skyline.com, or do I want to attach it to an existing account that sounds very similar, Skyline Automobiles? I know that that's not the same account, so I'm going to click Create New Account, Skyline.com. The next thing I'm prompted to do is enter the name of the opportunity. Now, Jill wanted some laptops. And the first thing you should notice is that I automatically have the name of her company in a hyphen. And this is done by my administrator creating a validation rule which says whenever we create a new opportunity, we want to insert the name of the company. And this is a very important step because whenever you're going to be looking at lead reports or other data in Salesforce and you don't have a name of a company, you're going to lose some reference to it when looking at those long lists. And instead of having a company name, you may be having a list of 50 laptops, 20 laptops, 10 laptops, and not really know who's who. So add the company name in there with the validation rule, and you'll be able to find them much easier. You can see here I've got a new lead converted status to its qualified, converted. And the next thing I'm able to do is create myself another follow-up task to send her an order form. And I'm going to do my research this afternoon to get the right pricing in there and remind myself tomorrow to send Jill that order form. So at this moment, I click Convert, and a few things have just happened. I'm now on a brand new account called Skyline.com. I've got a new contact below it, Jill, so Jill is no longer a lead. I've now got that relationship in place with her, and I can manage it appropriately. I've also got a brand new opportunity created for Skyline.com 50 laptops. So now I'm on my way to managing this business relationship. The first thing I want to do is make sure I've got all the information I need in my opportunity, and I want to follow that consistent sales process that we've set up already. So I'm going to go into the opportunity, and the first thing I've noticed is that I'm missing the amount, and I've got a close date of the end of June. And I know that she specifically was looking for it next month. So I'm going to click on Edit. She wanted 50 laptops, and I know they're $1,000 a piece, so I'm going to type 50K in the amount field. And I'm going to change my close date to the end of May. One thing you'll notice here is I didn't type 50,000 with 4 zeros, and I just used the letter K. Salesforce is able to catch those things and translate it into the appropriate number. I also have a sales stage field. And the sales stages are my sales process or my sales methodology. In our company, we use 5 steps plus a closed loss. And these are the steps that I'll walk through every deal to make sure that I'm doing the right things at the right time. Your own sales process may be much different, and these can be customized the way that you work with your customers. So work with your administrator and define the right process for your deals. Right now, I'm no longer prospecting, and I've already got the decision maker in place with a budget approved, and my next step is to send out the proposal price quote. So I'm going to select that as my stage. Click on Save, and you can see it immediately translated my 50K into 50,000, and my close date is updated. One other trick I'd like to show you is that in any date field, you can also type things like today, and it will put in today's date, tomorrow, and tomorrow's date. haven't tried it for the end of next month, but I encourage you to go out and play around with that particular tip. So click on Save. And the next thing I'm going to want to do, since I've, again, fast-forwarded in time, my next task was to send Jill an order form. So let's go ahead and process that request. I'm going to click on Send an Email. And you'll notice that my name field is blank. So I can type in Jill Johnson and do a lookup. And there she is. Or I'm going to click Cancel and show you one other way to do this. On the opportunity record, I've got Jill as a contact. I can click Jill's name and now scroll down and do Send an Email. And you can see it automatically populates Jill's information. And here is your order form. And I can attach a file. So click Attach, choose Browse. Here's my Skyline order that I created. Attach to the email and click Done. Send my email. And I've now got, again, a history built of all of the times I've communicated with Jill. I've got an order form. I've got my message about sending her, calling her about the laptops. And I also got an open activity, which I've just completed. So I'm going to click Send Order Form, mark Complete. So now, anyone that picks up this information or picks up on this account or wants to look at this opportunity, they can see exactly where I left off. We all know in the sales world that territories change and people move around. By having this history here, you're able to pick up exactly where the last person left off and start managing them forward instead of trying to catch up with what happened in the past. So we've now sent Jill the order form, and we'll fast forward another couple of weeks. She's sent the order form back with a signed copy saying they're ready to purchase it. She gave me her credit card information to process this record. So the first thing I'm going to do is come back into my opportunity. I'm going to update my stage to closed won because I won the deal and save the record. Now, this is great. It was a very easy process to walk through this new lead to an opportunity. But throughout the day and the weeks, I want to know if I'm on track to hitting my numbers. I also want to be able to pull reports on the kind of work that I'm doing. So on the Reports tab, I've got some access to some already built reports for me. And you can take these existing reports, customize them, and save them as your own, which you can see I've done up here. I've created one for my pipeline and one for my competition. Let's take a look at a pipeline report. And right away, I'm presented with where I am at in my current pipeline. And because this is not always easy to use, I'm going to show you another one using a dashboard. So instead of looking at a spreadsheet, I can also see where I am at in my pipeline. I can see it by the different stages. I can see that I'm almost on track at the halfway point of the year to hitting my annual quota. In fact, it's April, so I'm actually ahead of the curve. If I stay on this, I'll definitely hit that quota. I can see what some of my larger opportunities are. And if I want to click into here, I can see the underlying report. So what's in a report can be shown on these dashboards. If we go back to our PowerPoint, you can see here, we've now just walked through everything that Phil started out wanting to do at the beginning of the day. He wanted to have a complete view of his interactions, and he saw that with all the records he did with Jill. He was able to track all of his sales opportunities. He was able to see his opportunities by pipeline. He was able to see if he was on track to hit his quota, and he also had a list of his top accounts. He had a consistent sales process, those 5 steps that he can walk every deal through and know exactly what should be taking place at every step of the way. He spent a lot less time doing busy work and more time selling, and he did that by making use of those tasks and emails in Salesforce. And because he spent less time doing that busy work, he's able to sell more and close more deals. So that was a day in the life of Phil. And that concludes the demo part of our presentation today. Next, I'd like to share some best practices for your own long-term success. Before you get started with Salesforce, make a plan to import all of your data. All of the people that you work with and know today should be imported as contacts and accounts. And then all of the people that you don't know, you don't have a relationship, that you're still trying to develop one with, you want to import those as leads. You will not be successful with Salesforce unless you and your teams log in daily. This should be part of something that they do all day, every day. When you're working in Salesforce or when you're importing data, you want to make sure that the data is clean and of good quality. You cannot make good business decisions when your data is bad. So make this part of your culture and take it seriously. Adopt a culture or a motto that says, if it's not in Salesforce, it doesn't exist. For a sales manager to say, how do I know what you're working on when you're not putting it in the application? And for a rep to say, if it's not in the application, I don't get paid. Run your sales meetings with Salesforce on the wall. Every meeting at Salesforce is run with a pipeline report on the wall to see where we're doing and if we're on target. And I encourage you to do the same. With those measures for success in place, I want to share a few other things that will help make you wildly successful. We have what we call the App Exchange. And the App Exchange is available here at www.salesforce.com/appexchange. This is a library of over 800 business applications that are designed to plug directly into Salesforce. You can see some examples here on the left. One thing I'd recommend that you all do is write down the word dashboards and go out to the App Exchange today and download some free sales dashboards that will get you started with some of the ones we looked at today. You can also extend the power of Salesforce by doing some integration between Salesforce and your ERP or your billing system. There's some great synchronization tools, and you can even leverage social networking by tapping directly into Twitter or Facebook from your Salesforce account. There are 4 resources that you should all be aware of. The first one is Salesforce.com Insights. Insights is a monthly newsletter that's put out by our product marketing team that is themed for each month. We've done newsletters on managing your leads, improving your data quality, and managing your pipeline. I encourage you all to go out there and register for this monthly newsletter. We have our community website at salesforce.com/community. Community is a place where you can go and find answers to your questions by interacting with other customers, by downloading best practices. There are blogs, and there are access to other community resources like user groups. We also have an entire library of training materials and videos available for you at salesforce.com/training. Today was just a taste of how things could work when using Salesforce. Go out to this website and share it with your teams so they can learn how to build reports and dashboards and administer the application and much, much more. We also have salesforce.com/support. If you have a question, if you're stuck and need help, go here and find answers to those questions as well. Get started today. Log into salesforce.com/login and grow your business. Thank you. I'm now going to turn it over to Ursula for our question and answer session.
Thanks, Daryl. The first question we have that's been a constant question is if you can show everyone how to get the new UI again.
Okay. So how to get the new UI, we call this a skin. And you do that by going to Setup, opening up your Customize, scroll down to User Interface, and then it's the, ninth one down, Enable New User Interface Theme. Now, you have to be an administrator to do this. So if you are not an administrator, please let them know. And if they get stuck, you can click on Help and Training and type Skin or call our support or go to our support website.
Thank you. The next question I have is, can data be imported from contacts in Windows Live Mail? I don't have Outlook.
So you can import any data that you need as long as it's in a .csv format, a comma delimited format. So as long as it's in there, you can bring it into Salesforce without any problem.
Do I have to be an administrator to import data?
Importing data is a permission that's controlled by your administrator, but can be provided to the people that need to do it. So we'll oftentimes see marketers with a special permission to import leads and salespeople with a special permission to import the people that they already know today, their contacts and customers.
How do I create fields to match my Excel spreadsheets?
Creating fields is one of the easiest things to do as an administrator in Salesforce. I can give you one example here. I'm in Setup. I open up my Customize tab, and I scroll down to Leads, for example. I've got a Leads field. The top are the standard fields. So these are the ones that we've already built for you that exist today. And then I've got Lead Custom fields. And I can click on New. I can determine what I want. So let's say I want to create a checkbox to say that the customer is live. Click on Next. And I can see it's visible across all my profiles. Click on Next. It's going to be visible across all of the page layouts, the way that the pages look. I click on Save. It's done. And now if I go out to my Leads tab, let's take a look at any lead. And I've got the customer is live. I can double click here, check the box, and click Save. So I just created a brand new custom field that can be available in a report or a dashboard immediately. And it was that easy.
Great. So with the reminders and the activities, will a reminder pop up in Outlook? What's the process there?
A reminder won't pop up in Outlook, but you do get an email notification in Outlook or your email that will tell you that that task is due. So either way, you can get it in Outlook, in your email, or when you log in on your home page, or when you log in for the first time, it'll pop up telling you that it's due.
Okay. We have now a process question. Why couldn't you just start out by entering the information as an account instead of a lead?
So this is a question that I get all of the time. When do I use leads and when do I use accounts? And it is really up to your business and how you work. A lead should be considered someone that you do not know and that you haven't entered into a relationship with. You can think of a lead as a fish in your regular fishing hole. So in your regular fishing hole, you go there every day and you catch sunfish. Those are your accounts and your contacts. You use them every day. A lead is someone that they may be new to the fishing hole. Somebody from the neighborhood slipped a goldfish in. You might see them, but you haven't done anything with them yet. And I don't know if that was a great analogy or not, but a lead should be used for people that you do not know and you haven't done business with. Now, there is oftentimes an occasion where somebody will say, but we target every single school in the state of California, so we consider every school a lead. And in that case, you can use an account field called account type. And this is a custom field that is easy to set up. And I can say that if I don't want to manage them as a lead, but they're not a customer yet, I can say that I could have a field here that says they're a prospect. And then I can manage my accounts as customers or prospects. And I haven't created that field yet, but that is another way to manage them.
Okay, I have this sort of the same question, but asked differently. What about importing multiple contacts into leads?
So importing multiple contacts into leads. A contact is somebody that you know already, so they would not be considered a lead. So in Salesforce, you would do the same thing. If you know them and they're a contact that you've worked with, you want to bring them in as a contact. Now, you can do the same thing on a contact record and have a contact type saying that they might be a prospect, but just with that simple question there or example, I would say that if you know them, you want to bring them in as a contact. Again, leads are people that you don't know. You want to nurture them and develop them and turn them into a contact, an account, and an opportunity when that opportunity presents itself.
Thank you. Could you explain what a contact view is? A
contact view, and these are views that can be available anywhere. You have a lead, You can have a lead view, a contact view, an account view, and so on. A view is sort of like a mini report. I'm just saying that I want to filter things without having to actually build the report. So, for example, I want to see all of my accounts in California. Whoops. I want to see all of my accounts in California. So I can say my billing state equals California and click Save. I now have an account view called California Customers, and here are all of my customers in California. And now I can work right down this list of people that I want to be able to call. I can also add fields in here and rearrange fields as well. Oops, that should be rearranging. There we go. And here I could have a call down list now of the customers I want to work with today.
Another question from Mary Beth. How do you monitor accounts that need to be signed on yearly? For example, someone who signs on for a service for 2010, but you still need to pursue or maintain for 2011.
Sure. So one thing that we could do is create an opportunity. We close that opportunity and then have a second opportunity for a renewal 1 year later. So a very common practice is to create then a renewal opportunity, and then you'll have a renewal date of a year out from now. So that's one way, and then you could have a report or a dashboard show you the renewal opportunities that are coming up. There are other ways of doing it as well, using other custom objects. Sometimes people will use contracts and have a term on the contract for 1 year, and then get an email notification 30 days prior to that contract expiring that it's expiring. And that's done using a workflow rule, which is available in Enterprise Edition and above. But otherwise, a second opportunity is very common, and you can classify it as a renewal versus a new business.
We have another question. When converting lead to opportunity, how do you get the company name to drop down if it is already in there?
So as you saw, here I've got, let's take a look at a lead again. And I'm going to look at all of my leads. And let's just pick one here, Paul Ambler. So I click on Convert, and you can see here, it looks a little different than my example earlier. No customer exists in my database that is spelled like Meyer Ditcher Manufacturing. So I only have a choice to create that one record. As we saw with, if I go back to another lead, and let's see if we've got, well, here, I'll do one thing real quick. If I say a new lead is Daryl Sprider, and I'm at skyline.com, or I'm at Skyline, how about that? I click Save. I click Convert. And because we know that Skyline exists already, we created Jill at skyline.com. And I also know that I have another company called Skyline Automobiles. It's asking me, do I really mean one of these? So the difference is if the company exists, it'll remind you that something in there looks like it, and that's a step toward good data quality. If one doesn't exist like it, it'll just prompt you to create the new account the way that it is. So I'll click Cancel there. And I get this just because of the way my demo environment is set up.
Great. We have a question from Lisa. What are the key fields to ensure you are updating to get accurate pipeline?
What are the key fields that you need to update to ensure you get accurate pipeline? So a pipeline is all about the opportunities that I'm working on and when I expect them to close. And by knowing that information, you're going to be able to keep track of, are you on target to hit your quota or your earnings for that year? So if I just pick any of these opportunities, I'll pick DFC here. That one's already closed one. I'll pick Billings Truck Center. Hide my chatter feed. And here on my record, the most important fields when managing your pipeline is going to be the field. It's going to be my close date, and it's going to be my stage. What's good about managing it through these stages is not only do the stages remind you of what should be done at that step, but you can also then analyze your pipeline and analyze the people on your team by how they move their deals through this cycle. For example, if we have someone on the team that is great at finding new business, but they're really bad when it comes to negotiating, I could have a step in here called negotiating, And then anyone that negotiates longer than 30 days, I can have them appear on a dashboard, and I can use that as a coaching opportunity to help them improve the way that they negotiate. So this is a sales process that should be tried and true for the way that you do business. And if you can keep track of amount, close date, and stage, you'll be on your way to a great pipeline. The other field that I would highly recommend is something we use here at Salesforce called Next Step. This is a simple custom text field where I can say, call CEO on Friday, June 1st. And what this will allow me to do now is, as a manager, and I pull up my pipeline reports, I can also include this field called Next Step. And I can see that I have a close date of June 30th. Did my rep call the CEO as planned on June 1st? So it's a great field to just give your managers an idea of what you're going to do next to keep this deal on track.
David has a question. Can you enter more than one name for a lead? If so, how?
No, there's only one name per lead, but it's very common across any CRM system that you use to have duplicate leads or more than one of the same person. And that is because we might have someone at a trade show put their business card in a fishbowl for an iPad. That would be a lead. If I don't check to see if that lead exists already by doing a search for them, for example, typing in Jill Johnson, I'm able to see quickly that I've got a contact for Jill, and I've even got a task that's assigned to Jill. So search first before you create a brand new one, and that'll go a long way towards keeping your duplicate records in order. But otherwise, they exist. They're always going to be there. The trick to managing people with the same lead records is to merge them together and move forward with just one.
Okay, we have another question from Jan. Can you convert a contact to a lead if you entered a person as a contact but you have no business relationship with?
So a conversion works in one way and one way only, and that is from a lead record to a contact record. And again, if you don't know who this person is, then they should be entered as a lead. But I think from that question, that person may mean that they have contacts in the system that aren't already, that may have been put in as contacts, but they're really leads. And at that point, there are some data management tools that you can use to pull out the contacts that you say are really leads and then bring them back in as leads. And I would check with your administrator on how they can use, follow this kind of a process using what we call the data loader for those of you on Enterprise Edition or higher, or there are some import and export tools available in the edition that you're on to help with that. But if the problem is they're in there as contacts, but they're really not, export them out, delete them, and bring them in as leads. And if you have questions with that, start with one record and do a test before you do it to the entire list. And work with your administrator or call our support line.
Okay, we have another question from Amy. After you convert the lead, there is a box with account name. It is highlighted in red and says default create new account. But what if it is existing account already? How do you type the company name in the account name box?
Okay, so let's take a look at another opportunity here. Oops, I'm sorry. We'll have to take a look at a lead here. And let's pick Maura here. So Maura here, I'm going to click Convert, and she's at Media Kingpins. So I believe the question is around this field here, account name, and it's in red, and it's only allowing me to keep the account name that's existing. So that's because the account name on Cindy's record has that name there. So if I do cancel, you can see here I've got Maura Angel at Media Kingpins. I click Convert, and I can only choose that account name because that exists on the lead record. So it's there by default because it's on the lead record.
Okay. So what is the purpose of a queue? How is it used, and how is a queue different from a different view with filters?
So what is the purpose of a queue, and how does a queue work with different filters? So if we take leads, for example, leads are oftentimes a lot of records in the system that you've imported from trade shows or you've purchased lists, and it's now time for someone either in marketing or internal sales to start going through the list and calling them and qualifying those leads. So to find out which leads to go through, you can create what we call queues. So I can create, let me think of the best way. You can create a lead queue. I don't have one here, but a lead queue can say, if the lead has a status, place them in the time to call them queue. And then the people on your sales team can go directly to that queue and pick the ones off the list they want, assign them to themselves, and remove them from that queue. So we see this very often with leads, and we see it very often with cases in support teams, customer service groups. So a new case comes in, and certain product experts will pull out the cases that match their area of expertise. So that's how queues work. You can also create a view of a lead view by saying, I'm going to create a new view, and this is going to be my cold call queue. And I can say, I've got some queues here created, and I'm going to filter it by, again, this is my demo environment, so not quite the same as yours. I have a general queue here, and I'm going to say all leads with the status equals open, I want to assign to that queue. So let's click Save. And now I've got a cold call queue that I can pull from all of the people that are in a lead status of open and start my call down reports.
Great, thank you. Daryl, this is the last question that we're going to take. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. As a reminder, we will be sending you out the on-demand link so you can view the video at any time. And as a reminder, there is free training on Salesforce.com, so around administrator training, difference between leads and contacts. And we'll go back and answer all those questions that we weren't able to today. So thanks, everyone, for your time.
Thank you, everyone.